Hey friends, CowboyJobu here with the Jobu Sports Report, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. Because without you guys, well, I'd just be down here talking to myself, and that would be kind of crazy, don't you think? Okay, so we're going to check in on First Take. You know, Stephen A. Smith is on vacation, living it up, and you know he's going to come back and talk trash about the Dallas Cowboys with a vengeance. Well, today we're talking about Jerry Jones admiring the New England Patriots on how they handled Tom Brady's suspension last year because, well, he's got some suspensions this year to deal with. Now, I got to tell you, they have Ryan Clark sitting in the spot for Stephen A. Smith, and I just wonder if that spot just makes you a dummy. But anyway, he's talking about the Dallas Cowboys being dysfunctional with all of these players with problems. Like, he is holier than thou. You know, he did play with the Giants, a team that had a kicker who had been convicted of domestic violence and even had a diary about it. You know, we won't talk about Eli Manning and his stuff, or about Plexico Burress going to a club with a gun when guns in New York are illegal and shooting himself in the leg. Oh no, we won't talk about that kind of stuff. We won't talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers where your coach went ahead and had a bar fight during the playoffs, Joey Porter, or James Harrison being convicted of domestic violence, or Big Ben. So, you know, those who live in glass houses, oh, we almost forgot, he also played with the Redskins, and we don't have enough time to go through all of their dysfunctionality. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and check out this clip. And as always, thank you guys for subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. What? You haven't subscribed? Well, you better click on the picture of me and Sean Lee, so that way you can get your coverage of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Cowboys have released wide receiver Lucky Whitehead after he was arrested for shoplifting in Virginia last month and failed to appear in court on July 6th. Whitehead claims it was a case of mistaken identity. So more problems for Big D off the field. Meanwhile, Jerry Jones told the Dallas Morning News that he admires how the Patriots handle suspensions on their teams, saying, quote, "I feel this team, I look at the great job that Bill Belichick and that bunch up there, the reigning Super Bowl champions, does up there. I really look at them as role models. They started the year with a big suspension last year, and they deal with suspensions. And so you get the feeling that with this team, that it can handle these adversities, because as sure as I am sitting here, we're going to have some that we don't even mention here today."
Can we review that last sentence?
Yeah, as sure as I'm sitting here, we're going to have some that we don't even mention here today.
Man, I'm sleep on Jerry, man.
What?
Jerry tripping. I'm sleep on Jerry right now.
No. Okay, let me tell you something. Anybody that's familiar with Dallas media, I'm very, very familiar. Anybody who's been plugged into the Dallas Cowboys and the whole Dallas scene for, my entire lifetime knows this. Jerry speaks in convoluted, stream of consciousness, hard to keep up with, run-on sentences. That one thing you read, by the way, had one period in it, the one at the very end. There was no periods, there was just commas up to that point. So everyone was a qualifying phrase, the end result of which is, I don't know what the point of the sentence was. But the last part's what bothers me. There's more suspensions to come than even that we know here today.
That's because he knows.
Yeah.
Even that y'all know here today, but I know.
That's the point. Ryan,
I know they're coming.
Do you know something that I don't know?
No, that's what Jerry said.
Yes, that's the point. Buried in the stream of consciousness, convoluted, run-on sentences, Jerry drops nuggets of knowledge that you have to weed through sometimes. Like, oh, that's a parenthetical. Like, I don't know what that meant. This is something else. Oh, look at this part right here. There's more suspensions to come that we're not even talking about. That is very, very concerning to me. That is terrifying to me. Here's the thing. So when we talk about the Cowboys, I want people to work through this with me, okay? This takes some...
I'm going to sit back.
Yeah, this takes some keeping up with. I'm not going to do run-on sentences like Jerry. I'm not going to make this convoluted. Just take steps. We just got to work through some steps. Yes, I like the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm not going to apologize for bad behavior. And the Cowboys have had some incidents this offseason that I do not like. By the way, sometimes when it comes to the Cowboys, we take the totality, lump it together, and go, oh, Cowboys again, 90s White House, Jerry, always making excuses. But what we've got Zeke with some off-the-field instances, Nolan Carroll getting a DWI, Damian Wilson getting an assault charge, and then there are others, David Irving with the PED suspension. But many of these others that get thrown here, look, Jordan Lewis on their domestic violence. That was before he was drafted. That was in college. The Cowboys knew what they were signing up for when they did that. They're not all the same. We don't want to treat them all the same. Oh, look at this culture problem. Do the Cowboys have a culture problem? I don't think so. But I don't like this. I don't want to see the team that I root for have a situation where you have, what is it, half a dozen, we'll just loosely call them incidents piling up. When we talked about Zeke, I was very clear. I don't think he's on the straight and narrow. I think Zeke needs to get his behavior in order. But then that takes us to the next step. Do the Cowboys have a huge problem? Then you start doling out suspensions. And that's where I divide for everybody, because I don't feel like allegations are enough to begin to punish. Allegations are enough to take a player into an office, and I had this debate with Herm Edwards last week, and start saying, what do we need to do to get you on the right path? But take Lucky Whitehead now, the sacrificial lamb in this PR disaster that is the Dallas Cowboys offseason. The truth of the matter is, we don't know what happened with Lucky Whitehead yet. I find it impossible to believe that you could get arrested, charged, and miss an arraignment all based on a mistaken identity, which is what Lucky Whitehead says. But I guess it's possible. Why don't you let the facts play out before you cut Lucky Whitehead? And the only answer is because you're playing PR, trying to send a message. No, we don't have a culture problem here. Look what we can do to a marginal player that doesn't matter to us, so we just drafted his replacement, Ryan Switzer. That's what this was, and I just don't like that. When it comes to actually suspending players, I want more than allegations. It doesn't mean I excuse behavior. It doesn't mean I like it. I just think you have to work through these steps.
Well, so here's another issue I have with this statement. You mentioned the New England Patriots. You mentioned the New England Patriots starting the season with a suspension.
Reference to Tom Brady.
Totally different thing. Apples and oranges, right?
But you know what he's getting at there.
I don't know what he's getting at because he's dead wrong, Will.
What he's getting at is next man up.
No,
he's saying he's envious of the New England Patriots next man up philosophy, do your job philosophy.
No,
he's saying we can handle this.
No, this is Jerry Jones, watch me abracadabra y'all, Houdini y'all, David Copperfield, and make you forget what the heck's going on in Dallas. Because it's not a New England Patriots situation. That was a football situation. That was a team situation. That was something, and whether you think Tom Brady had knowledge of it or you think Bill Belichick had knowledge of it, that was a team deal. These things that these individuals are doing, that's not a team deal. So, Jerry, that's not the way the world works. You can't reference the New England Patriots and say, hey, everybody's just like them. It's like I told you yesterday. Because the New England Patriots have people behaving badly, people get cut. They don't get suspended, right? They don't get brought into the office and talked to. They get cut. I'm not saying that's the way the world should work. I believe that an allegation isn't enough to suspend. An allegation isn't enough to cut. But you get to run your team how you want to run it. Jerry Jones gets to run his team how he wants to run it. And what happens is, people don't just judge you by one deal, right? Like if you did something really crazy one day, I wouldn't be like, that's who Will Kane is, right? If you said something totally off the wall one day, I wouldn't be like, that's who Will Kane is. But what I would do is study your history, right? I would be like, well, today Will Kane said this. 2 weeks ago he said, this might be who Will Kane is. This is who the Dallas Cowboys are. This is who the Dallas,
what are they?
The Dallas Cowboys are dysfunctional. The Dallas Cowboys aren't worried about character as long as it helps them win games. And you know what? Jerry told us that yesterday. When we were talking yesterday, Jerry told us, if the risk is worth the reward, we are taking the risk. You know why? That's how people become billionaires.
Okay, so let me ask you a question really quick. Does that make the Dallas Cowboys any different than all the other teams in the NFL?
Absolutely not.
Does every team in the NFL run a risk reward on a player and say, you know what, we can accept this risk when it comes to his behavior, with his character, in return for the reward he brings us? Does not every team operate that way?
It doesn't make them different. It makes you different when you always misevaluate the reward as compared to the risk, right? When you have an Adam Pac-Man Jones, when you have a Gray Party, when the result you are getting from having these players is not making it to an NFC championship since Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin decide to hang it up, but you keep dealing with these same situations. It's not evaluating the risk reward that's wrong. It's misevaluating it. It's taking on people that don't help you win games, but continue with the same bad behavior that they had before you. If you were rehabilitating these players, right? If you were helping them clean up their image, if you were helping these players become better people and also winning games, then even if you weren't helping them become better people and they were just staying out of trouble or you were covering up better and you were winning games, it works. That's not what the Dallas Cowboys are doing.
So what makes them dysfunctional? Because that's what you said. The Dallas Cowboys are dysfunctional. Is it they misevaluate the risk reward on the players they take gambles on? That's what makes them dysfunctional?
No, they misevaluate it on the player, right? Even if they don't win games, right? If you bring in a guy and he becomes a better person there, and he doesn't have the same type of behavior, if you don't continue to be in the headlines for people you know that had character issues, people you know that had other things that were going wrong in their lives, and they stop doing them, you're okay. Because now you're just like every other team. But when you continue to be in the news because you look at these people and say, oh, he can be better, because you think the reward is worth it, you're wrong. And Jerry has been wrong. And when you continue to come out and support these people, you are wrong. Jerry Jones has to understand every reward isn't worth the risk, but to him it is. There's been too many players that other people say, hey, I won't touch because of who they are, that Jerry has taken the chance on. And it hasn't yielded him rings.
I will tell you this. I think you're partially right. I think Jerry Jones is very, very risk tolerant. This is the background of an Arkansas oil wildcatter. One who's very, very willing to drill 1,000 dry holes for the one gusher. Jerry Jones, you could argue, as you just said, his risk tolerance leads him to taking too many gambles, whether it be Greg Hardy or Pac-Man Jones, or you can go back actually to the Dallas Cowboys history into the 1990s of taking players who were highly drafted or highly talented, who were rejected by other teams after character problems. The Cowboys and the Raiders seem to be the two teams that always seem to give them a second chance. And when you're doing that, you're going to continue to have dry holes. You're going to continue to have strikeouts. The thing is, I don't know that the Cowboys are any worse at rehabilitating somebody than other teams. I mean, Marvin Lewis theoretically rehabilitated Pac-Man Jones for about 2 or 3 years, and that all came to a head in the past year, and it looks like maybe that wasn't such a great gamble. But now Marvin Lewis hasn't had that reputation of rehabilitating guys the way you're saying. In fact, he's been in the same boat as Jerry Jones. You say, Jerry Jones keeps missing. Well, the Bengals keep missing, right? They keep bringing in these guys with behavior problems, and they keep suffering from the same reputation. My argument to you is this. By the way, the Patriots, the gold standard, the one you say that no one else can be compared to, they did just sign Malcolm Floyd. And while he didn't do anything to exacerbate his character problems, he also didn't provide the reward. He didn't really perform for them.
Did they win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, but they did.
They did win the Super Bowl.
But we're talking about player evaluation, not team evaluation.
Right. Corey Dillon was supposed to be a problem.
Yeah, Corey Dillon.
They
hit on Corey Dillon, and the Cowboys hit on Cowboys hit on Dez Bryant. We can't sit here today and pretend like the Cowboys only strike out. They do work it out with some players. Dez Bryant came in with character problems, supposed character problems in the draft. It's one of the reasons he fell so far in the draft that he fell to the Dallas Cowboys. They brought him in. They brought in mentorship. They got Dez on a good path. Here's the thing. What we're arguing about is basically how good are the Dallas Cowboys at taking these risk rewards and putting these guys on a perfect path. And I'll agree with you. They're not batting 1,000. They're probably not batting 500. So when they continue to take risks, like drafting Jordan Lewis, a guy who has a domestic violence charge that's going to trial right now in Michigan, do I trust that Jordan Lewis will be a good soldier going forward, a good citizen going forward for the Dallas Cowboys? I have skepticism. I really do. I understand the wildcatter Jerry and what that's going to continue to do to public perception, these kind of conversations. My only point to you is this. It doesn't make them that different from any other team in the NFL who doesn't get as much attention. I'm not sure I have the model franchise who's good at taking these risk rewards and turning them into good citizens. Give it to me. Who's the team that does that?
It's the thing, though. The teams stop doing it, right? The teams that don't do a good job of it, they stop doing it. And when they have a guy who has a character issue, they usually have a fallback plan. They usually have those guys as a piece. They don't bring these people in and say, this is how we're going to win a championship. And when you continue to be in the news for certain things, at some point the rehabilitation process has to start for your organization.
So to be clear, when you say the Dallas Cowboys are dysfunctional, basically the reason for their dysfunction is they give too many second chances and take risks risks on too many players, on too many of these potentially troubled players.
No, that's not why they're dysfunctional at all. They're dysfunctional because they were 8-8 for 3 years. Then they win, and then they go 4-12.
I don't think team success. I don't think team success is what we're talking about here. We're talking about whether or not you get these players moving forward as productive players and citizens.
That wasn't the question. right? I brought that up as a reason to point toward this Lucky Whitehead case. When you look at Ezekiel Elliott and these different things, the dysfunction in the off-the-field stuff is not a reason why I think the whole organization is dysfunctional. But we were talking about this particular case. We were talking about the sacrificial lamb
Lucky Whitehead?
and Lucky Whitehead, where we were going to show, oh, look, we're going to cut a guy who wasn't going to make the team anyway.
Hey, look, Lucky Whitehead as an example. Yes, this is not the right thing to do. But according to your principle,
but the thing
but
is,
everyone does.
Lucky Whitehead,
we all know you cut the guy who's replaceable.
Right, but we
all
haven't
know the
talked
guy
about
who's
Lucky
number
Whitehead
52.
until today.
Yeah,
Right.
well, when his dog got kidnapped.
Right, but Lucky Whitehead wasn't oh, this guy is dysfunctional, or, oh, this guy is a character issue, oh, this guy is a problem. He wasn't the guy who we led up when we got him on the team. They're taking him in to rehabilitate him. He was the sacrificial lamb because he was the one he could let go, because the risk reward didn't make sense.
Yeah, but every team does that. Every team cuts the 52nd guy on the roster when he presents a problem. Again, that's not a Dallas Cowboys thing.
When Martavius Bryant goes down for the Pittsburgh Steelers, when he is drafted in the 5th round, right? When we don't take him high because we knew he had these issues. We had Antonio Brown. We had Eli Rogers. We had Le'Veon Bell. We had Ben Roethlisberger. The ship won't sink with one guy the Pittsburgh Steelers picks, or with one guy the New England Patriots have. We have seen the ship sink in Dallas. We have seen them miss over and over again in both production and off the field issues. You can't continue to miss on both.
I will concede this, that if there is a problem with the Dallas Cowboys, it is Jerry's risk tolerance and his willingness to take on too many risk-reward scenarios that don't pan out. And that's just a numbers game. You're signing too many players with these kinds of problems.
Well, it doesn't sound like the Lucky Whitehead situation is going to change the narrative for the Cowboys, even if that may...